don't voice your opinion. That's like,
hello and welcome. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. I'd like to thank our sponsors at Procyon Partners. Procyon, one of the top 50 fastest growing companies in the nation. They specialize in employee benefits, wealth management, and retirement planning. President Sean Rabinowitz, proud supporter of our podcast network and everything we do. Green Street Trust International, owned and operated by Rennell Jump and UConn legendary men's basketball player Jake Voskuhl. They specialize in tax plans for businesses large or small. They will save you money or get you a big fat return on your taxes. To schedule your free strategic tax planning session today, go to www.greenstreettrust.com. Pete Finch and the Finch Law Firm is located in Bridgeport, Connecticut. If you've suffered any type of personal injury, slip and fall, car accident, your mother-in-law ran you over with her car, your wife got angry one night and decided to stab you, the Finch Firm is for you. Pete has won legal battles all across the state of Connecticut. He will go to war to get every dollar you deserve in compensation. You just have to remember, in a pinch, call Finch or go to his website, thefinchfirm.com. Dynamic Human Performance is owned and operated by UConn legendary running back Andre Dixon. He trains boys and girls of all ages, all sports. He has a boot camp program 7 days a week, 6 a.m. You want to get in shape, you go to Andre. He has an athletic development program where he trains boys and girls in the sport of their choice from the ground up, helps them reach their full potential, be the best they can possibly be. Andre has sent boys and girls to college on scholarship for all different types of sports. To work with the best, he has a 5,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility in Hartford, Connecticut. Go to www.dynamichumanperformance.com. All right. And here we are for Broker Than You with the king of real estate in Erie, Pennsylvania himself, Mr. Laban Marsh. Laban, great to see you. I feel like I should
box. I'd love to box, but I've already got punch drunk from head-to-head collisions enough. I don't need that. But I do have, this is a Boston Scally for the New Englanders.
Oh, that again. I keep thinking it's a fedora. It's not a fedora.
Bro, it's not a fedora. I've always known it as a driver's cap.
All right.
So a driver's cap.
The driver's cap. Okay.
Yeah.
And Nedvonne Young, FreshFold Laundry Co, entrepreneur extraordinaire. Great to see you as well, sir.
Yeah, man. As always, great to see you guys.
I was just
on. We look forward to Wednesdays. Right?
Yeah. I was just on with Joe D talking about UConn basketball, and tonight being such a big night for the guys.
Listen, and it's like internally we have a track group chat because our boy Elliot Blount is the women's head track coach for St. John.
Yeah, St. John, yeah.
So like for him, it's an awesome thing because if St. John's wins, it's woo, I'm around my St. John people. But if UConn wins, he's alumni. It's not even a fair cop out for this guy. I do love him.
For Talik. You know, Talik is one of the assistant
he's
coaches.
The assistant, correct.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is, coaches do matter, and I think that's what creates this matchup to me. I mean, the players play the game, but man, those two are legendary. Danny himself, and then Patino. So it'll be fun for sure. But listen, I have to get this off my chest just because we call this Broker Than You.
Oh, and you got your facial hair back. Everyone's commenting on that.
I shaved Saturday.
It only takes 72 hours. That's
right. And then I did clean up my cheeks and my neck. Unfortunately, I had what I would call a very disappointing week. where, Drew lost on Tuesday. Then on Thursday, my nephews lost in the D10 championship game. And so, like, my brother Lucas Drew and I went last night to watch the team that beat him win again, and they've got a point guard who's really good, a family friend. So we wanted to go and support him. But my brother Lucas, like, dude, it takes it out of him. He probably won't go to another high school game the rest of this year, not because he doesn't want to support other kids. It was so hard to watch that game, believing that Drew and his team should have been playing. So, do you know what I mean? And like, it is something that we've talked about this before with football season coming to an end, and we've got the combine to look forward to. But there is something, and I don't know if it's okay to kind of wallow in that, ending of a season. But the reason I shaved my facial hair is one of Mackenzie's teammates lost her father earlier this week.
Oh, wow.
And now she hasn't even graduated high school, and two of her teammates have lost fathers. And it's just heartbreaking. And it was a health issue that came out of nowhere. He was feeling great. So, I attended that with Mackenzie. I was in line with another woman who is off work right now because she has cancer treatment. And we talked about the show and why we named it Broker Than You. And it's just like, dude, it's, basketball losses are disappointing, but man, like the challenges that people go through independently, and man, the power of prayer is huge. And so I just think for a lot of people, and then last night, you sit and watch the State of the Union, and I could only feel disappointment in just all of it. You know what I mean? I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. Then we have a local restaurant that was having an event with a political speaker that got canceled because there were like threats to the staff. Bro, people need to chill.
There were threats to the staff?
Well, because they were going to have to, the staff would either feel uncomfortable because of this guy's views. Like, I don't know. We are just so involved with everyone's business these days. I don't. And one of the comments I made on Facebook was that, most of the people that are going to boycott something never even participated in it originally. Like, most people said, I'm not going to that restaurant. Never went to that restaurant anyways. So, like, I keep thinking about, like, I'm just disappointed, in a lot of things. And again, I think you have to surround yourself with good, positive people, which is why I look forward to Wednesdays especially. And I don't know if there's a solution outside of everybody needs Jesus. But man, I just it has to be respectful. You just have to respect that people have a difference of opinion, and you might not think it's okay, which is all right. But it's the old, if your mother told you if you didn't have anything good to say, don't say it at all.
Don't say anything at all. Absolutely.
And again, I don't know. And I probably say too much or more than I need to on certain topics and things. But I found myself just this overwhelming, disappointing feeling from a number of different facets of my life. And I need to kind of reinvigorate. I walk the dogs. That always helps. We don't deserve dogs, by the way. But yeah, so I'm on here hopeful, excited to tackle some of the things. And I think in business too, like, this is the other thing that's very depressing, is that it is March 1st on Sunday. So we're 2 months into a 12-month calendar. And we've had, businesses moving, but not like we'd like it to. And part of it's weather. But yeah, so I'm not sure what that, just from my perspective, I want to stay positive. And it's easy to get caught up in everybody else's opinions, I guess. And I don't know what to take from that outside of I need to mind my own business more, and probably get into the word a little more.
Well, they say control what you can control, right?
Well, and I will go off this last thing, and I don't know if we talked about this before. I saw it recently, and the woman that I was in line with, who I pray for daily, sincerely, the fruits of the Spirit biblically talk about, all the different things. The last one, self-control. And I think that's the one thing it's easy to, because you don't have control of your own emotions and things, it's easy to try to get involved with other people's. And I just think, the Lord didn't say, control everybody else. It just says self-control. And that minding your own business. I pointed that out to someone else on Facebook recently, who had an experience where he just tells his family to, mind their own business and not worry about what might be going around on events that don't affect you or you don't need to have input on. And the first penny in 1787 read, mind your business. And I'd be actually curious to look up more of why that was coined there. But I think in general, it's just, you got enough to worry about. Take care of yourself. And so trying to replace this disappointment with gratitude, because I am grateful. I am very blessed. We have great people in our lives. And I think those are the people you need to surround yourself with more, both in business and in athletics and everything else. So.
Well, my question is, as far as I know, we don't have a budget yet for 2026, right? Is that correct?
I mean, as of
is
federal
government? Yeah.
To my knowledge, no. It's I think it's still a temporary budget. Wow. It's not fully approved. But I mean, the budget is like one of the least of the worries. I think Labe touched on a lot of stuff. But just touch on a little bit what you said. One thing, just the statement. I believe the actual statement of people. Sometimes this statement is misconstrued when it's mind your own business, like not mind, but mind, M-I-N-E. From a standpoint, that's the term. So when you would mine, like you had miners who had a mining business, or you would do things, you would work on your own business to build it up. So that's, to my knowledge, what a term is coined from. And things shift and things like that. But I believe it's mine, as in you're to cultivate, grow, build, and dig up your own business. Is it M-I-N-E or M-I mind? Oh, it is M-I. Okay, there you go. But I thought it was M-I-N-E, like from that standpoint of where you. I don't know if it. Even
I know what you're saying, like mining of.
Like basically, you are cultivating and building up your own business. Yeah. And if you're focused on your own business, you don't really, you're not really involving yourself with other people, things having going on, because if everyone's doing their own thing, if everyone's building up themselves in their own business, then you kind of have more to share and produce, right? You're a producer, you're doing things.
Well, and
everybody helps everybody else.
It's funny because here it is, Russell Conwell wrote a book, super short, so I could read it. It's called Acres of Diamonds. Mm-hmm. And what he talks about is, I believe it was a farm, and everybody was out looking for things that outside of their realm and their land that they could profit from. And at the end of the day, in his own backyard, there were acres of diamonds, literally, that if he would have stopped worrying about everything else out of his control and just would have tilled the land and taken care of his own, he would have found these acres of diamonds. But that was where mind, and I think now they talk about mindfulness. And that's really, I guess, what I'm disappointed with in so many people, is that they're just not mindful of other people at all. They're not empathetic. They're not sympathetic. And they certainly don't mind their own business. And that's where it's like, if you don't have time to mind your own business, how do you have time to mind other people's? Like, that's the crazy, you know what I mean? So I'm sitting here on a podcast telling people what I think. So it is a little, I don't know.
It's not hypocritical. It's not.
Well, because I'm okay with sharing my opinion with others, and I'd like for them to be able to share theirs and know that I will at least hear them out. And I could differ in my opinion, but I think that's what's most interesting, is why is there a difference of opinion? And it's usually because of life experiences. Or their environment, right? And I think that's where even when you look at diamonds, it's pressed stone over time. Now, it is interesting, Fresh. And I think, again, it's a lot like coaching. I might say something differently, use a different term, or think we're using the same word with meaning the same thing, but it is different. And again, that's okay. Like, I guess it's just, why are we so judgmental? And why do we just think that our way is the only way? And I think that's where we need to be more humble, and try to figure out more why we got to that conclusion, as opposed to, this is the conclusion and I'm going to stuff it down your throat. And if you don't accept it, I'm out. I don't know. And some people don't want to engage in that, and that's okay too.
We're conditioned, man. I think we're conditioned to do things a certain way. A lot of times, I think a lot of things that people, good, bad, and indifferent, the habits that we have, a lot of times it's what we were taught and we learned when we were young, and we carry it over. But it takes a mature, sensible person to break bad habits and to accept that some of these things that I have or I've learned are not the right things. And, that goes to show, like, when you have, and that's why it's great to see when people, like, you'll see certain people, whether it's in public or just that we've met throughout time, where, people, I've met people who, from a personal standpoint, they have admitted, like, I come from a racist family, right? They be like, I come from a family of people who are racist, but I am not, because I understand and I saw and experienced all these things that were wrong, and I know that it was just wrong. Like, it was just a contradiction. And then once they see that it was a contradiction, especially when it comes to faith, it helped them understand, like, there's no way you could tell me that this is what the word tells me to do. You tell me to do as Jesus did, but Jesus wouldn't treat other people that way.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah. So that's kind of like how that.
And I think that's a maturation process too, because, like, I still remember, I was so naive going up to Connecticut, and, Coach Rapone, like, yeah, we got a lot of Christian guys on the team. And then I was around them, and the amount of curse words spewed, I'm like, hey, that ain't very Christ-like, And then, but it was just, I was never around that. So I realized you can curse and still be a Christian. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think we should guard our tongue. That's something biblical, but I think that's not just cursing. The other thing I found recently, taking the Lord's name in vain is not just saying my God or Jesus Christ in response to something. Like, if you profess that you were a Christian and don't act like it, that's taking the Lord's name in vain. And when you realize that, it does make you hopefully think a little different, not only in what you say or tell people, but how you actually act and feel and convey that sincerely is where, I go, and Philly Hunt was brought up. Like, I say it all the time. Don't talk about it, be about it. Because they're making flags and t-shirts now. Shut up, no one cares. You know what I mean? Like, it's don't talk about it, be about it. So you can tell me or quote all the Bible verses, but if you don't treat people right, oh man, the Lord knows that. You know what I mean? And the Lord knows our heart. And I think that's where, even in business, when we try to do the right thing and it doesn't end up the right way, I think if you're doing it with the best of intentions, whether that's a marketing campaign, how you're spending your money, watching your budget, all those sort of things, it's a direct reflection of what you truly believe. And I think that's where, going back to like the restaurant locally, when people say they're going to boycott it, and it's like, well, have you truly patronized the business? Like, do you go there and support, not only because they have good food, but like the owner of that restaurant was a client of my mother's in their personal residence. So it's like, I have to treat all these people without, an R or a D or an I behind their name politically, because I'm trying to sell you a house. I don't necessarily care what you think politically, unless it changes the way you behave. And if it changes your behavior, then, that could be problematic. But there's just so much speculation on, and again, in business, when you're just trying to do business, I can't discriminate. Like, if somebody has a political affiliation, I say, I don't want to work with you because you're of this. Like, in any other aspect of life, that is illegal and discriminatory. But it's just strange to to me, because again, I just, what would Jesus do? And I know they made wristbands for a while, and I'm sure that was a money grab too. But if you sincerely treat people the way you want to be treated, live by the golden rule, which is not he who has the most gold rules. It's just really becoming more apparent. And I think having older children, 17 in May, Mackenzie will be able to vote. She'll be 18. I don't know. And I don't know how big of an impact that is, but I think being involved and understanding what's going on and how it affects you is something we need to do. And we need to be better stewards of our resources, whether that's financially, your knowledge, begin to share that. And I've talked about, the law of reciprocity, where what you give out, you get back, whether that's love, money, all that sort of stuff. But, karma, I don't know what you want to call it, but like there is energy in this world to which we put out and receive. And I like to be on the good, positive side of that. So I don't know where that come from. Steve, are you guiding us?
No, I'm not mind fucking you right now. Just so you know. If it makes you feel
you
better.
Can't be a Christian the way you curse like that, or those darts you rip on the regular, bro. Now, do you rip those darts because you're stressed, or you just because like nicotine's not the worst thing for you? Can we talk about you for a minute?
Sure. I like saying mind fuck. It's a good word.
Listen, and I think it's if you understand what you're saying, I understand it's relativity. But in regards to firing darts, right? The old John Daly.
Yeah. I'm not throwing darts. I'm not throwing
darts. Is it? No, ripping darts, your little cigs. Does that help you out?
Yeah, it does. It helps me out. Yeah.
Does it calms the nerves?
Yeah, a little bit. When I'm on with Joe D, Joe D's pretty
he
hard.
Stresses you out. But anytime I would drive, Campoli would have to put a lip in. And I'm not saying he chews anymore. He may not. I hope he doesn't for his gin.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't either. I remember those dips. I remember.
Oh, dude, listen. I'm going to tell the funniest story ever, too. And this is way off on a tangent, but we were coming back from break, and we were all in the car. I was driving. Campoli usually sits shotgun, so I don't remember who was sitting shotgun. But Fish was right behind me, and Campoli was to my right. And I specifically remember Fish had this, wife beater on or a white T-shirt. And he was sleeping, sound asleep. And Campoli had a lip in because my driving made him nervous. And all of a sudden, similar to what Steve did before we were on air, Campoli sneezed and forgot to cover his lip.
Oh, my gosh.
I look in my rearview mirror, and Fish wakes up. He's like, what? I almost had to stop the car. Oh, my goodness. But Campoli used to have to put a lip in when I would drive because he gets nervous with my driving. So when
I missed what you said, my thing buffered. What'd you say? So I'm assuming, Campy was up front? He was in the front seat?
No, Campy was in the back seat next to Fish. So he all of a sudden went to sneeze, and Fish was the recipient of it.
So he didn't turn away. He turned to Fish?
He didn't. Yeah, he said it came so quick he couldn't control it because he usually covers his lip. I don't know if that means
there's no way to control that.
Listen, it made me.
Well,
anytime you fire up those darts, I wonder if I'm stressing you out or if you're just low key chilling.
No, if it makes you feel better. I was coaching a game, and I used to chew Red Man when I was coaching.
Ooh.
And our offensive coordinator was right next to me, and I spilled my dip cup all over his play sheet. And he looked down, he looked at me, he didn't say a word, he just kept calling the plays, and I was just trying to mop it up. And I asked him afterwards, I was like, how in the hell did you not go ballistic on me? He's like, Steve, I've learned to accept the unacceptable from you.
Wow.
I've learned anything is possible with you. So I had to keep it together. It was the middle of a drive. Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to burn a timeout because you spilled dip all over our play sheet. I don't know what to call. Like, wow. that was pretty bad.
But what I would say is, look, man, I think vices are what they are. I think what I've found, right, from whether anything that I've struggled with or whatever over time is that, I mean, scripture has been super helpful. Just like, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. I think with that can help with anything. But at the same time, for me as a Christian, I'm more of I'm the encourager. I'm going to encourage you to understand that you have options, and it's a choice, right? A lot of stuff we do, we subscribe to, whatever it be, lifestyles or things that we decide to do. It's an option, and I think, one of my pastor back in Brooklyn, A.R. Bernard, used to always say, when he talked about transformation, when people used to have their first profession of faith and they would come over to Christ, he would say that transformation is not an event, it's a process. So I think for people, right, whether it be you, Steve, me, Lay, wherever we are going through, just understand it's a process. So if you truly desire one day to, what, straight edge, right? I don't want to be doing any, I prefer to chew gum if I can over that.
Right.
Then just work towards that. It's a process. You'll get there. Whatever you desire, the desires of your heart, you'll get them, right? Just work towards it. But for me, it's just keep that in perspective. And I think if people just have that, because at one hand, we can't go, well, we can't be as judgmental. And then at the other hand, we look at things that we, especially as Christians, may look at and go, well, that's kind of tough to, as a Christian, I could never, for me, I'm like, I could never see myself doing it, right? But at the same time, I understand that we are so diverse, and we're diverse in everything, in culture and color, like whether it be skin color and mindset and experiences, in joys and also in pains, right? That we have to be understanding that because of that, we all move differently. But I think if we work towards a common goal and just have us always keep a sense of humanity, like I will always do that. I will always choose being humane over what someone says, like this is like the letter of the law, right? Some laws, whatever they set, some things are flawed, but I think with being more humane is because that's how Christ lived. He said, yeah, I understand the law. He knew the law better than anybody else, but people would try to use the law against Christ, right? But he would take that and say, well, yes, the law says to stone this person, but if you have, but right, and that was the law, so they would have stoned, they would have stoned the people. But he said, well,
stoned.
So he without sin, you cast the first stone. If you don't have any sin, you go ahead, you do it.
Yeah.
All right. So we can't be throwing stones in a glass house where we don't have
exactly.
We have sin ourselves. So we have to be mindful, and we can't think that we're not the ones. Like we are the most righteous person. You sin every single day. The most righteous person. And we gotta keep that in mind,
But even going to a Vice or what have you, I remember when I played in the Big 33, there was a kid who played at Virginia Tech, Jim Ferrugio, and I remember him saying his grandfather was like 85 years old, and he's chewed every day since he was 15. And I'm not. This dude is telling me this story dead straight serious. He's like, my uncle's a dentist. I was going to be a pre-dental student at UConn. I'm like, dude, that's not good for your gums and everything. How's your grandfather doing? He's like, no, he prays every day. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? I'm like, he prays every day. He prays he won't get cancer. He prays, and I'm like, I'm thinking like, dude, that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? But then like you hear that story last night at the State of the Union about the guy that got shot in the head, and his mother emphatically said he will be fine. Like, at what point does your belief that seems so unrealistic to the general public, like if you are so firm in that belief that it actually is true? Do you know what I mean? And that is, I think, the ultimate faith, right? Yeah. And so would she, right? But would she rather believe that he would live and then he ends up passing, and she would have a difference of opinion probably? But the fact that she believed without a doubt and he did live can only make your belief grow stronger. So I think that's something where I'm not saying pray if you want to chew tobacco so that you don't get, lip cancer or throat cancer. But then how many times you hear somebody get throat cancer that never had a vice in that regard? So I think that's where, is it causation, correlation? But I think the mind is such a powerful tool that you can convince yourself, and there's been studies on this, athletic performance, all of that. And so even when I opened this morning and was, as we came in here and the overwhelming feeling of disappointment, I knew being around you guys would help the mindset. But man, it is so important to find that outlet, to hit that reset button so that you can go about your day. And they've talked about that before in sports, right? Somebody said, well, how many shots do you miss? Well, I missed 10 shots. Well, how much time did it take you to shoot the shot and miss it? And it was like 2 seconds for 10 shots. That's 20 seconds. How many minutes are in a game? So you're letting 20 minutes of missed shots affect the other 38 minutes and 40 seconds of the game because you missed a shot. Like, you're just focusing on the wrong thing. And I sometimes wonder if people with absolute ludicrous faith, like when you look at it, you're like, bro, or what we've talked about, audacious. Faith so audacious that it sounds ridiculous to the rest of the people. There's something to be said for that. Like, I want people to think I am a little bit ridiculous because I have faith so large that the Lord can do even more than what I ask of him. And I think that's where sometimes the problem with that, and especially with this generation, is that we want it now and we can't delay gratification. And it can't be on his time because I need it right now. And it's amazing how often, if you just stick your nose to the grindstone, mind your own business, have a faithful heart, man, things start lining up for you. And I just encourage people to try to find that circle and the people and resources that you need to be a good steward for yourself. Because, again, if you can't take care of yourself, you're never going to be able to take care of others. And that's where, dude, we've all flown in planes. I think on the way to Kentucky, the masks actually dropped from the
I'll never forget it.
Was it Kentucky?
It was either Kentucky or Eastern Michigan.
I didn't go to Eastern Michigan, so it had to be Kentucky,
So
where we
Kentucky.
landed and all the masks fall.
Yeah, and
but they
Norris
say, put your own mask on first, dude. Like, why do you think they do that? Because if you can't get oxygen, you can't help
anyone else. Yeah. I remember that because Norris was looking back. He's like, we're coming in a little hot. I'm like, what is he talking about? He's like, I don't know, guys.
Were you on the flight?
I was scared to death. Yeah. He said, we're coming in a little hot. And the pilot didn't take into account the equipment and everything, the weight of the plane.
The equipment, the offensive lineman. Stop it, bro. He didn't take into account the offensive lineman.
Whatever he didn't take into account.
Bro.
Nah, all that stuff is calculated. Who knows? I mean, you have these
things that happen. It was super uncomfortable.
It was uncomfortable. That's crazy.
And was that an omen? That was the last college football game I ever played.
Yeah, I'll never forget that one.
That's when I walked up to Daryl Bevel and asked him if I could play receiver. And then Randy said, "Oh, you think you know more than me as a coach?" Yeah. So I remember that flight, dude. That was literally like, and I've been on a lot of planes. I've never had that happen again.
I've never had it either. That was
I don't even think I've thought about it since
I think about it every time I get on a plane.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, I would say one of the things is, man, it's always about foundation for me. And I think foundation is very important. So even when you're talking about having whether it's a group of people or you having an outlet, I think where you build your foundation is kind of how the structure and the structure of your house, if you will, and that could be you, yourself, your temple. So for me, I choose to build my foundation on my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So that's me, right? Mm-hmm. And it hasn't failed me yet. I feel I have a very strong foundation for how I build, and I carry that over to everything else. So my foundation, I don't go, well, I separate how I move as a man of God than as a businessman or as a father. I'm a man of God always. That happens to be in business. That happens to be a teammate. That happens to be a friend. And if that's my foundation, and I've been given rules on how to live and how how to live, how I'm supposed to live, and how I'm supposed to treat people, it's definitely good that we, to have the mindset of mind your own business, but we will also commission to do things. We will also commission to be good stewards, to love thy neighbor, to do all of these things. So we have to be good stewards. We have to, and we also have to, what we're commissioned to share the gospel too. So it's one of those things where we have to do what we are commissioned to do. And sometimes we would love to say, all right, I can separate this. But for me, I've gotten to a point as a mature Christian where I don't separate it. And I'm unapologetic about it. I'm not going to separate. I'm always going to be, let my faith, let that be my foundation in how I approach situations. So I don't let even all of the noise and everything that's going on in the world, I'm always going to look at it from how Christ will look at it, right? At least I try, right? I'm going to try to look at it the way that Christ look at it. And if I see, one of the things I know from a fundamental standpoint is that we have to do right by people because Jesus would. He wouldn't go, well, you're in this party, so, or you, or this, but it would just go like, well, what are you doing? Are you leading my sheep? Are you tending to the flock? Are you doing the right thing? And I think that's the most fundamental thing. And if someone's not doing the right thing, then that's telling me all I need to know. I don't need to know anything else. You're not doing the right thing. You're not treating people right. Yeah. So you're not moving right. There's no excuse for it. You can't excuse it away. It's either you're doing the right thing or you're not.
Okay.
And right or wrong. Yep.
I think, okay, but see now where I have conflict, and this is in business. I've made the mistake of trying to play the savior, if you will, and I don't mean savior the Lord. I mean, I know this person's on not a path of destruction, but definitely not a path on the the walk with the Lord or the light. And so you think you're gonna be a good example for them without realizing the example they hold will rub off on you. And it took a while for me to find that. And when I realized in hindsight after certain events, I'm like, I was trying to pour in to him and they were leeching in a way that it brought out a more secular individual trying to appease their wants and needs for me. Because I thought I was being a good example of the Lord to somebody while they were taking advantage, all the while knowing they didn't necessarily believe the same way I believed, but it better positioned them for success in one of those avenues. To where, like, I now am having a hard time as a Christian forgiving that.
So you're saying you're talking about like one of your real estate agents?
No, it wasn't. It was it was a friend,
a friend. Okay.
In business. And so I think that's where, and I talk about the circle because I've changed my circle, not drastically, but anytime you have certain events where you get disappointed by somebody's behavior or their actions do not reflect their talk or what you feel is how you want to be moving forward. And so again, I mean, it was, it's something I've struggled with for a number of years now. And I feel like it's hard for me to think I'd forgive somebody when they know what they did and they're not remorseful at all. And again, this is stuff I have to personally deal with and figure out for myself how to get past that. And it doesn't impede me at all. It's just one of those things where I know I should be able to forgive. And for some reason, I don't know.
You have to understand other people. You can't have expectations like that for other people.
I've eliminated expectations. I know, but I've eliminated expectations from people, which is also sad.
Let me ask you this, though. Who is forgiveness for?
That's right. And I guess that's where, I mean,
I just say it, though, so everybody,
yourself.
Who is the forgiveness for? Who is the forgiveness for? When you forgive someone, who is it for? Is it for them or for you?
I think it's more for you, so you don't carry around that guilt. Yes.
So if something has you in you're holding on to something that the forgiveness will help you release, and you're having trouble doing it. And it's one of those things where when you truly forgive the person, it is a weight. Right now, the fact that you're saying that the weight is somewhat of a weight. It doesn't mean that it impacts you're still moving and living, moving and grooving, doing what you do, but it's still pain there, because understand that, like, we're, as men, we know a lot of people, right? But how many people do we truly can say, this is my friend? What I'm hearing, and I could be wrong, but what I'm hearing is you consider this person, like, you don't just throw the name friend out like it, right? So you consider this person a friend, and you feel betrayed, and it's tough for you to go, I'm going to forgive, just forgive this person, and it helps me to move on. And you may know all of this, but you go, and you know what? I don't want to. I don't think this person deserves it. But it's not your call to determine whether it deserves it. You were commissioned to do a thing, and you have to do it. Do it. Do the thing. And it's hard, but do it. Do the thing.
Yeah, but I mean,
there's a difference between friends and acquaintances too. And especially if you're doing business with a friend, that is challenging.
Oh, and listen, it is challenging, but I think in business, and we've talked, like, numbers are numbers, dude. Numbers are numbers.
Yeah.
And I've always been in evaluating businesses, or even on boards, serving on a board, you need to use titles, not names, because I need this title, this role as an employee to do these things. And if they can't do it, they can't serve in that role. I mean, it was, I don't know, dude. I'm with you guys. I don't know why I can't.
It's not a can't, you just won't right now. That's not it. You just being real, like, look.
Right. But I guess I can't, because I don't like, I feel like it's like, I don't feel sincerely like I could forget. I don't know.
Well, is this something recent, or this was a little while ago?
This was this was about 3 years ago.
Yeah, okay. I'm like, this ain't years. Fresh. I can tell, like, I can see it in Lady's face. It's like, this is a while. You've known this person for a minute. This wasn't fresh, but it's just kind of like sometimes old things come back up, and you're just like, dang, I'm not over this.
And are you still working with them?
No. And I mean, and I think that's where, but what's crazy is that, I mean, he's not even working at all. It's it got real bad for him personally, health-wise and otherwise, to where I can sincerely feel bad for his circumstance, and yet I can't get out of the back of my head his acts, the things that were done and said, that we all know once words are expressed, you can't take them back. And then the words often reflect the heart, ultimately.
Yeah.
So,
can't put
and from my perspective, I have to this day never been disrespectful to him, his significant other, or anyone else. It's just.
Do you have a relationship with them?
No, not now.
So not at all. Okay.
No. So here's the thing, lady.
I appreciate this therapy session, and if this is live, if this is live on Facebook, there's zero correlation, except every once in a while somebody will screenshot one of this individual's posts to share it with me, knowing the circumstances. But and I guess I hadn't thought about it for a while until I ran into the woman at the funeral who asked, whatever happened with that, and just mentioning it, no names even discussed. It's you can't help that physiological change, whether it's sweaty palms, because like I'm wearing this driver cap and I have a bit of a facial hair. Like, I could box right now, and like that is my feeling, is if I'd see him in public, it would want to go to blows. And I know
that much anger.
This is why this makes sense. Just think about it.
Yeah.
We got the reaction first, then the backstory came. Because you came in early, he was like, I should box, right? I didn't know where it came from. You don't realize it. I don't know if you realize it. You was like, I should box, right? And then something, but I've already had so much, and then didn't know where that was coming from. Now the backstory comes, right? About why you kind of feel that way. But here's the thing. So when we forgive someone, that doesn't mean we ever have to forget. Sometimes that's a reminder of what not to do. Again,
it
right?
was 100%.
Yeah. So it's like, but now you already have to remind you, like, I know what I'm not going to do anymore. But you also know, as a man of faith, you know what you're supposed to do, and you got to ask yourself, am I being obedient? And that's tough, because you know the answer, and it's up to you to make the decision. And that's where I'm always, this is just me, right? And it can have nothing to do with you say. I'm just saying in general, anybody dealing with certain things, everybody moves at their own pace, right? So when someone has, and sometimes that's the vice is not letting go of things, right? Sometimes the vice is something physical. Sometimes the vice is like, no, like you're when we say, why are we judging? Why are we so judgmental? Why we look at someone else? But sometimes we do the things like judging from a standpoint of you making the judgment that this person doesn't deserve to be forgiven. Well, if you feel that way, but guess what? It's not for him anyway. It's for you. It ain't for him anyway. It is. So it's for you, so that you don't ever have to feel like, if I saw this person, I can be, not saying you would, but at least in my mind, I'm like, I could box him.
And it's the physical, like I'm beyond that as far as like wanting to fight. Like it absolutely, like it originally angered me. And anytime I would mention somebody caught wind, they're like, oh, that's so sad. I'm like, it's not really sad. I mean, it's disappointing. I mean, I don't know. Lie, steal, cheat. There's just no place for it anywhere. And then dishonesty. So oh man, I don't know. But okay. Part of what the trigger mechanisms are at properties to which he would once work. There's issues that linger. So, well, because it was so poorly handled, and I guess that's where I question the intentionality of it, because this was like the last straw. Was it incompetence, or was he, spiteful? Like, there were a number of things. Okay, I'll give you an example. We hired him to do a roof. He did half the roof, the driveway side, no less, so it's easier to set up scaffolding on this 2.5-story old home. Left the back side that fits in between two other homes, so it would make it challenging for anybody else I'd have to hire to finish that second part of the roof. And then the icing on the cake is he took what was our original front door that I had purchased from a local door company, and he installed it as a front door on this duplex that you would never do. Like, it's way too, so like, I know he did things for me to acknowledge that, like, I got you, bud. One more time here. I got you here too. And so there were these 5 or 6 gotchas because I'm telling you right now, it was over $1 million spent in a decade with renovations and stuff. So, it was, yeah. I disclosed quite a bit today. There are local.
No, that's good. That's good, but it still bothers you. It still bothers you.
But ultimately, I mean, I'm beyond it enough to where it is. The anger has essentially worn off. Although I did, you know what I mean. That I'm just saddened by it because of how it went down. And I guess the thing is, it's like, when you're dating somebody and you think once you marry them they're going to change. It never changes. And I guess that's where, going back to trying to be an example for someone, and then their example wears off on you. And now when you look back, your intention of being around them to be a good influence, you realize the influence they had on you put you in a spot that you're not comfortable.
Right, but is it a relationship that at this moment you would like to try and reconcile, try to talk to? It's been time has passed.
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
some things have changed.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know things have changed. I just have zero interest based on all that went down, how it went down. And
But it was more business related, though.
No, well, it was business related and then became personal based on
having to not work with them anymore.
Their response to the accountability of
right,
a typical project.
But you don't think it's worth revisiting?
No, it's definitely not. And I think that's where
it's
not, because I wonder.
You would never trust it.
Well, if you understand narcissism and you've been around a narcissist.
Yeah. You're around one right now.
Well, but listen, I think we all have our issues, right? And I think even for me, I mean, I named my son after me. How narcissistic is that?
No, that's
no.
Great.
I think they're like, where is it, right? The narcissism versus self-care. I think that's where, when you do things for others that improve their lives and also improve yours, that's okay. But when you leverage people to improve your life without really giving a benefit to the other, it becomes one-sided, and then
it's selfish. Yeah.
It requires reflection and hindsight to better decipher. So yeah, I don't know. I hope Levi doesn't watch this.
No, but it bothers you, but you
clearly,
you still won't go there. It's not something that you want to try to reconcile.
No, I mean, I don't know that it's
You don't think it is?
It can't be rectified.
It can't. There's no coming
because
back
again, no. I mean, it stemmed from money, but turned to personal digs that becomes unforgivable. The money's one thing. And my mom always said, if it's about money, it's not really an issue. And I think that's the one thing I realized and reflected. It wasn't just about the money, and it wasn't about the money at all. It was about the fact that he lied, cheated, and stole. And that's how it brought him the money.
And how soon after that did the working relationship end?
I mean,
because you obviously
it took a couple months
for a while.
Yeah, it took a couple months to flush everything out, and that's where I think the last straw was, okay, so if you write a check in September for work to be done, and then the work doesn't get done until the following May, and in between that period, as a friend, he says, I have no money. I borrowed money from somebody else, which then lets me deduce the idea that the money I gave you for the jobs that you were supposed to do, you used for something else. And then when you did finally get enough money to do the work that we had already paid you for, you left. I ended up spending $8,500 on the other half of that roof.
Because he only did half of it.
And then
8 months late.
Yeah, the $500 door, he put a $3,500 door in its place. So there, it started with money as being the issue, and then the
lies told in between.
Well, but it was like there were multiple facets of it, different entities that were supporting his business, and he took advantage of all three in a way that
had he come to you and explained the situation, it probably could have played out different.
And it was inexplainable because my wife.
Before he did all this, if he explained that he was,
what it seemed like is just it was a litany of things that happened over time. This person some things are like habitual, like he's habitually probably doing bad business, and he got comfortable, and he's got comfortable with doing the bad business, and some people, like when you mention people who are narcissists, they're delusional from a standpoint of. They think that they could always.
Well, they lie to cover up their lies.
Yeah, I can get out of it. I can just talk my way out of it. I can figure it out. I can, But then when the exposure happens, when there's like no turning back, there's certain things you just can't go. Like you just have to go. They have a difficulty just saying, you know
when
what?
they're confronted with the truth. Yes.
Yeah, like, all right, you got me.
You can't get
I really messed up, and it's just almost.
You'll never get that from them.
It's almost impossible for them to say, "This is what I messed up. This is what I did," for you to repair it. So that's where that comes from.
Yeah,
and I get it, man. I mean, you things happen. And again, remember, like I have no idea who this person is. I know you, and I just know you, care about you, and I think for you, and I think you know it too. That at some point, I think you're going to be fine regardless of whatever you do.
Yeah.
It is about to be better for it if you just go ahead. You know,
and you learn from it.
I'm done with it. Like it's over. Like I'm taking this burden. God, you have it. Help. I forgive him. It's on you. Boom. You take it. Now you're living even better than not saying you're not living great. You're living fine. And you're still moving on. You're moving the way that you need to move. Even better. That's my opinion. That's my thought. And then I'll leave it at that. I don't need we even got to say anything more about it. We could just kind of move it along if you need to.
You learn,
it's like 55 minutes in now. But.
Yeah, and again, I think, but it goes, and I honestly, when we were the disappointment I mentioned, this was not. I don't even know where this came from in the talk. Outside of we kept talking about self-control.
You're talking about religion. You're talking about being a good stewardess or whatever.
And then and stewardship.
And this bothered you because you dealt with this years ago, and you thought of it when you saw the mother at the grocery store.
At the funeral, yes. She inquired on how it was because
it's something that you haven't gotten over. It's something that still bothers you. Yeah,
clearly,
and that just shows you have a good heart and you care, because it obviously was a meaningful relationship that you had with this person as a friend and businessman and with his family, and it's gone now. And I'm sure part of you never wanted that to happen.
No, I definitely never wanted it to happen, but I think the hardest part
it's hard to get over.
Yeah, and as we get older and we know some of the ailments, without really knowing, you know what I mean? Whether it's the head trauma, you know what I mean? Like when am I going to have to deal with the things that I have incurred early on in life? And again, that could be a litany of things. But I go back to that, right? And I wrote down ending. You know what I mean? I wrote down the hoops and the basketball and then the funeral, and you know what I mean? It's like, and then I've gone, there are people who have, whether it's infidelity and things like that. And I'm like, I can't imagine that, because when my best friend did this to me, I know how I felt. And if that happens with a spouse, which it does a lot, I don't know how people, and that is where I try to lean on my faith and just trust that, you know what I mean? The Lord knows your heart. Try to do the right things, treat people right. But I remember for the first few months, Mackenzie would say, "Hey, you're so angry. You were treating us as if we're the ones that did this to you." And then that would really bother me, right? That would bother me that affected me so much that in my life, I am
over to the fan.
projecting my frustration on the people who absolutely love me.
You brought it home with you.
Well, but it was at home. Like they witnessed it. It was, throughout our addition project where, Drew came home one day and the guys weren't there. And he's like, man, they're not even motivated. These guys, they don't even get the job done. And I think that's where you start to see like that in the business, the friendship came into like, well, he doesn't mind if I get a couple jobs in and then finish his project later because it's such a long project. And then you think about that and how we weren't really a priority. Like we were just a money grab.
But it wasn't something that you kept up on him. Like you weren't checking in with him. Like,
oh, dude. No, every day. And I think that was the problem was that my wife in doing the project, because I don't care what investment it is, my wife's involved with everything. We share everything, how much money we spend on our own, whether it's pole vault poles or, her trips to Puerto Rico or whatever else, like we share everything. And it was one of those things where she kept asking and nothing crazy. Like we need this. And it just kept And I'm like, oh, he'll get it. You know, he's my buddy. We'll get it. And it just,
Oh, so you weren't
can't-
directly communicating with him.
oh, well, I mean, I'm in there every day. I was at the project every day.
Oh,
and
you were there and it just wasn't getting done.
It wasn't getting done. No.
Yeah.
So
He kept just basically pushing the timeline. Like he kept giving some kind of
that's-
excuse for whatever reason.
That's
And
Yeah,
then
and
he would just be like, "This is my buddy, and he'll get to it."
right.
yeah, but
It's not that big of a deal. But
months.
after a while, it became a big deal because it snowballed. And once it snowballed, got too big, and then it got to the point to where your wife is like, we're not ignoring this anymore. Yeah, like you got something got to get.
Until May.
Then you had to address it, and then
And that's where
it came out.
The straw that broke the camel's back was, when things were said about my wife and how she is as far as
that was nice.
So, and that's where once it became personal, it was really hard to recover from. But business wise, and listen, it goes back to we've talked about this how many times, Fresh? Know your numbers, right? Know your numbers, and that's really. And when I go back to, like, friends can be business partners because the numbers should be right there. And I've always said, if you can't explain it to me like I'm 8 years old in less than 5 minutes, there's something strange about that. So, and then if somebody ever says, "Hey, I'm on your team," what team do you think I thought you were on? So there were just, too many things compounding.
And so after this roofing business, whatever, it
construction
tailed off. Construction, it kind of tailed off and dissipated.
Yeah, I mean, when
in the next few years,
and I think that was where in like business was being lost before, and I heard a different story than former clients that would tell me, and I just didn't believe it. And then it happens to you, and you're like, man.
Yeah, it happened to you first.
I was hearing one side the whole time and didn't even want to listen to the other side when I should have taken heed to that.
Well, it's tough to be objective and keep that perspective when you're dealing with a friend.
And this is where, for business, and please, if you get anything out of this, like if you have a friend that you do business with and they get uncomfortable when you ask for the numbers, clear the air right then.
Discontinue the business.
Clear the air right there. Because if you can't put right down what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, like this isn't about friendship. This is just business. In doing business, I know my numbers. We need to know. And it was my fault. Like, I take full accountability for getting us in the situation because I didn't stop before it even started.
Because you had a personal relationship with this guy, so he got special treatment. Clearly, then you would have dealt with another company.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So listeners should understand, as you said, if they get nothing else out of it, like you have to be mindful of the company you keep, even in business, especially in business. Right. So in your evaluation process, like you said, like, you know, how people say, they say it a bunch of different ways, but I always say the term men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. Right. So I would just look at it this way, right? You could take it that way, or I would just say the numbers tell the story of your business, of the health of the business, of or the project or whatever you're trying to work on. So, and that could be numbers. Numbers could just be, it could be whatever, from cost to timeline, deadlines, things like that. Things aren't lining up, and you know how things are supposed to go. So you have a vision, you have a plan to accomplish this vision, if you will, and you could turn it into whatever. It's a project, and the project should have phases, and those phases should come at timelines. And then as phases are completed, you should do things treated the same way. And if you have a rule that the way that you do stuff, I know, like when we do projects, and it's something I had to get my wife on board with. Initially, she would just go, okay, well, this is how much it costs. Boom. She's done stuff here. Here's all the money for the project. I'm like, no, like we have 3-4 phases of the project. They get just enough to get the materials or whatever they need to do to start the project and complete phase one. Phase one is complete. Here's another installment. And we go there.
Right.
We'll do that. And then as you complete, you'll get that, and you'll, upon completion, and usually at the very end, we always have this, especially in real estate, is a punch list. So even after the project is complete, it's like, oh, we just got this little punch list we got to finish. Okay, well, I just got this last little check to give you when that punch list is finished, right? So once the punch list is done, all of the last little, like, rounding out this or finishing off this or clean, and it could be the littlest things like cleaning up the trash, removing this or putting, because the work is technically done, but once that's how it has to go. So you have to be, and those things are in place to protect yourself from yourself sometimes, because we're human beings, right? So we're human beings, and we're going to make fleshly mistakes. We're going to do it. It's going to happen, right? We're not robots. We're not going to have our guard up all the time, but we can have systems in place so that we cannot get screwed. And that's why you do certain things to not get screwed. So moving forward, right? People like, you know what I'm saying, the new or seasoned investors, because clearly Laban wasn't new. He was seasoned in the process, and while he was doing to help maintain projects that he already have, things he already owned, to get things done. And what might have been a thing, and I'm just going by some of the stuff I heard, is in a process where there were other clients that may have said something like, oh yeah, we'll send, let's just call it ABC, ABC Construction over there to take care of it. And they'd be like, I prefer not to work for ABC. You got somebody else. And then you're like, okay, we got somebody else. We can send somebody else over there, right? Or they decline to do it. And you pass that off because you're not thinking that it's a problem with this person until they didn't possibly not have enough work. And then you said, well, I got some projects you could take care of in-house. You know what? You can take care of this. And then you started to see why these other people outside, or people that you normally can refer this person to, was saying like, nah, I don't want to do business with this person, or I'm good, or I'll take care of myself. But at the same time, they know, just like how in a relationship, like if you're in a relationship with someone, one of the worst things you could do is tell somebody about their significant other, right? Let's just say, like, if you say, hey man, like your girl's this or that, nobody wants to hear that. Like, they have to figure it out on their own. So the person, you were in a relationship with this person, they were like, we can't just, if we tell them, the person probably going to be more defensive, and they don't want to go through this whole, like, I'm just trying to tell you what I've observed. I have no dog in the fight. I'm just telling you what I've observed. And we may not be in the right mindset to hear it because of the relationship. So it's one of those things with certain things you got to find on your own. It's just unfortunate that sometimes you find out it's in a situation where then you start to backtrack and look at all of the things. And it was like, it wasn't one thing. It was like 4 or 5 projects that
were affected.
And then you're kicking yourself like, how did I let it get so bad? And then it trickles over into other aspects. So this is a learning lesson, that's especially for people that are doing projects, or
very big.
Just like the old adage, we talk about other things like with hiring and firing people. I think Gary Vee coined it. He said, you hire fast, you fire faster. And that could
hire slow, fire fast usually, or hire slow, fire faster, hire fast and fire faster.
Yeah, fire faster. So whatever you do, but so that means and it shouldn't matter. That should not be based on the relationship you have with the person. It should be based on numbers and production.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna give you guys a couple rapid fire questions here that we had. Laban, what is one metric right now that you look at, because you were talking about the numbers, that you see is most important for any business or real estate going into Q1?
Well, I think the most important metric is probably your expenses. I mean, there's two sides to a budget. And again, I think as far as revenue goes, you should have a basic understanding of where that's coming from and how you get that. But in regards to a metric that needs to be monitored and often closely watched are the expenses. And I think, I've talked about this to somebody more recently. There is a difference between cost and value. Do you know what I mean? And I think if it's marketing dollars, like, what is the most effective use of your resources And so I think, again, expenses are a major factor, understanding where your revenue comes from, but also looking at your expenses and understanding, does it generate revenue? Is it is it for top of mind awareness? Like really digging into those expenses to see, and do we need them? Like how many of us have kids that talk to our kids like, is that a want or a need?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you get in, like, the first quarter for us is usually slow. So we're, you know what I mean? We're focusing on revenue, but watching our expenses. So, and that's the other thing. Like if you get too caught up in worrying about your expenses and forget about generating revenue, that can be overwhelming. I think part of that mindset, and I remember in that movie, The Secret, you know, where the one guy would send himself checks in the mail because every time he went to the mailbox, it was depressing because all he was getting out of there was bills. So he literally started sending himself checks, and then he would look forward to going to the mailbox and getting checks. And I remember when we early on were getting revenue from sales, and I would take them to the teller, you know, put them through the bank, and there was that process of, you know, depositing revenue into the bank. It was a good thing. And you want to do more of that. But when you're surrounded by expenses, it's kind of like that same thing with mentality. I'd like you to focus on revenue building and growing, but be conscientious of your expenses. So the metric is a typical budget of revenue and expenses, trying your best to keep the revenue up and expenses down, but also understanding if there's a time to boost expenses so that it helps drive revenue, whether it's in marketing. And we've talked about Marsh Madness and how we have not leveraged that marketing ploy because I don't know what to attach it to now. The open houses no longer exist because homes don't sit on the market long enough. So I think paying attention to what is happening in your market and then understanding how you can insert marketing dollars to extract more specifically what you're looking for to grow your revenue. I don't know.
Fresh, what about you? One metric for the first quarter.
What I would add to what he was saying, that's expenses are included in it. I think you need to know what your cost of doing business is. That's very important to know what it costs you to do business, right? Okay. So it costs me X amount, you know, which is technically it can be a part of your expenses, but you need to know what it costs you to do business. So for me, if I know, right, I have if someone, let's just say if an average load is, call it $60. All right. From that $60 that's coming in, what does it cost me to do business? I need to be able to calculate fuel costs to use, you know, what it costs to use machines, water, soap, any kind of softeners, because when you get in the laundry business, you start to know it's more than just like laundry detergent. You have to know other things. It's like, what's a softener? What's
hidden costs? Hidden costs. So they're often referred to, but there's nothing hidden about them.
Yeah. So it's like
go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. He's right. It's hidden costs, or it's accumulated. I would say all of the things that accumulate from all of the things that go into it. It's not just cut and dry. Like, oh, okay, you need to know, break it down to the detail that, let's just say, if it costs me to do business, it costs me if it costs me, you know, call it $10 a load. So then, but I need to know what all goes into that $10 and make sure that number is right. And then also has kind of Laban didn't use this term, but when you look at your expenses and if you can eliminate them, you know, I would call it, where can you trim the fat, right?
Yeah. Right.
Where can you trim the fat? About that. But yeah, to keep it short, like, know what it costs you to do business so that you have a realistic understanding. Because some people just go, all right, well, it cost me this, you know, I get in $60 every $60, you know, it costs me $20. Okay, well, see if it really does cost you $20. Sometimes you might be underestimating the cost. It might actually be costing you $30, and you're not, because you're not accounting for. People go, oh, well, this is what is detergent, and you know, it costs me to use a machine. It costs me $7 to use a machine. I use about 20 cents, 30, 50 cents, whatever, of detergent. So it's $7.50. Okay, but did you calculate what it costs you time wise? Did it cost you to to drive your fuel? That it costs you, like, you need to calculate all that. What does that all add up? And then your real cost is like, oh dang, no, it's not 750, it's 1450. Okay, well now you know where you are and what that is, and then you have ways to do it.
Well, and a great example of that was when I was in Connecticut as my first sales job, and my boss would tell me, like, when you bid these jobs, he's like, do we just show up on the job? Like, you can't start billing as soon as, like, when you get to the shop, we load the truck with the material for that specific job. We drive 40 minutes to the job, and then once we finish it up, we have to clean it up and drive back home. So he wanted me to bid the job, not when we show up at the address, do the work and clean up and drive. Like, he wants to bid essentially the gas it's going to cost, the time it takes to pay two guys to take a truck, 45 minutes, that's an hour and a half I'm paying guys. So bid it right. And I think sometimes when
you're from the shop, you got to start from the shop and all of the resources and put all that together, and then you go.
Right. Because but be able to explain that to the client, because most people never say that. Like, I know when I show up on the job, and this is when you first see me, but understand that an hour ago we were at the shop loading all the materials and all that. And maybe they can say, well, that's not my concern. It's like, well, it's a part of your job. Like, we have to get the material from the wholesale, get it over to you, install it. And so if you talk that out and are pretty transparent about it, a consumer's going to say, okay, that makes sense. I'm happy to pay that additional travel fee or whatever you want to call it, and bake that into the whole recipe. But if you as a business owner don't realize that, I got to pay two guys for an hour and a half while they're going to be traveling. If I don't build that into my bid, I'm going to have to eat that myself. And you're right. You have to include every last bit of the recipe, because if you leave baking soda on the end of a recipe, it's not going to taste the same.
Yeah, you want to have itemized things. So if you can itemize the receipt or itemize the invoice, that's also a follow-up to what you said. Because you could say certain things and people forget. I don't remember you saying that. Well, guess what? This is what's on this is the itemized.
This is what you signed.
As much as you can itemize it without, just say, this is the labor is this, travel or whatever. And somebody like, well, you making me pay for it, or you got to put it in there somewhere. Maybe your labor cost includes travel, but they can understand labor costs. They may not be able to want to accept travel, but they can accept other things, and you have to know how the mind works. Psychology goes into this business stuff too.
Big time. And Fresh, you mentioned this. So Laban, if you were to cut, or if you had to cut 10% of your costs today, what would you do? How would you do it? Where would you cut those costs?
I mean, specifically, I would cut the costs on executive compensation in some form or another. Like,
okay.
That's where I would start, because you trust that all of your dollars that you're spending on the business are appropriate. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You shouldn't, and you want to trim the fat, but most of the time that fat, gets put on the executive side of things, because when things are going great, now you can start compensating yourself. Well, when things aren't going as good, you might have to trim and we took out bonuses for brokers, when the market started to shift. So you have to, going back to understanding your expenses, but whether it's company vehicles, whether it's, payroll for not staff, but again, owners, like, that's where most people make the mistake, is that they start cutting the things they actually need. And because they got so used to what they expected to need and be accustomed to, that they aren't willing or can't cut the executive pay or the owner's pay because of what they have going on personally. So for me, if when we've had to do it, I go first to the executives and see, as owners, what can we do to trim what we don't need. And I think you always look at it from, if somebody were to come in and look at this from the outside, what do you think the first thing they would cut? Or if you were trying to sell this business, right? And now somebody looks at your book of business, where your expenses are, what your revenue is. And if you didn't own it and they did, would they still have the expenses that you have? Or are you accommodating personal lifestyle that runs through the business, and you're not willing to change your personal lifestyle to accommodate the business's needs. And that might be, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally
You know what I mean?
does.
Because again, it's easy to say I can cut 10% on marketing or advertising, but it's like, if you're spending 10% too much on marketing and advertising, this should have been a conversation long before, right? So the easiest way from my perspective as a business owner to cut costs is to look at executive compensation and number one. And I've looked at businesses, sole proprietors, where I want to know, like, they're selling a business, but in your books, do your books show what you pay yourself? You know what I mean? And a lot of times they don't. Like, I made $150,000 in profit. Well, how much? I didn't pay myself anything. Well, then it wasn't really $150,000 in profit then, because if somebody does that job, we have to pay them. So I don't know.
Fresh, what about you? What would you say to that if you had to cut 10% of your expensive or your costs? How would you do it? Where would it come from?
Well, I would look at it from a kind of different perspective. If we're talking 10%, right? If it's like there's a lack, we're lacking or lagging somewhere about 10%. So I need to figure out where to increase something somewhere, not necessarily cut. Especially like if you're already running very lean, then it's not a trim thing. Then it's an increase. Okay, maybe I need to increase efficiency or on a route. So let's just say if I have routes in my people on a route have the capacity to double, to double what they do, we need to get more things on a route. So and a route would be like if it's a certain neighborhood that I would have a driver work, and that driver, if they were only having 5 pickups a day, we need to increase that to 10 or at least. But if it's a day, we might only need to increase it by 2. They might need 2 more pickups a day. That 2 more pickups will give us a week that will give us the numbers that we need that would add up over time. So sometimes it's not about, okay, well, where can I cut? It's like, okay, well, where can I be more efficient, or where can we where can more be taken on to where we can have an increase? So I would kind of shift it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I would increase it. Like, where can I increase it somewhere?
So, but with that, and this is where sometimes business owners, and I'm not saying you didn't think through the whole thing, if they have 2 more pickups, does the vehicle transporting need to change? Right? Like, if they have a small minivan, do they need to go to a box truck in your business? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but that's exactly right. The goal would be that it's grown so big. My thing is whatever the capacity vehicle, right?
Yeah.
It needs to load out. So to your point, let's just say if we have a small like transit van, but it's only a quarter of it filled, it needs to be full, right? So then
that's number one.
It needs to be full. So if it's full every time they go out, that's probably going to give us that boost of more than 10%, right? So that's where that comes from. And the goal is, get it like where the driver and your employees will tell you when it's time to grow. They'll go, we don't have any more capacity to fit in there. Like, I'm filling up the driver's seat, the passenger seat to the brim with all of the new stuff. We need a bigger vehicle. Okay, we need to go from a transit van to like a cargo or a Sprinter, and then that's how you know when it's time to grow.
Well, and I think that's where just you have to be cautious of, it's almost like it, and it shouldn't necessarily stop, but to understand that not everybody thinks I just want to grow, but they don't always think about what comes with that growth. Do you know what I mean? Like, literal growth you're going to need, and that's going to increase expenses. But as long as it grew the revenue, and I think that's the thing, to your point, max out the efficiency of what you have right now.
Yes.
Because you don't have the room to be inefficient and be paying for something that you're not getting, right?
Yeah.
So I think
that's not have the ability to cut. So that's why I flipped it, Steve, because it's like if I cut, right, and I'm already running lean, it can hurt me somewhere else, right? So you have to be mindful.
Yeah. But you just have to be careful with growth. It's a great thing, but you've always heard too big, too quick, or things like that. But
all All right. Well, the last one I will ask, what would be one concrete action listeners should take for the first quarter of this year?
For me, it would be goal setting. I call it goal setting. You could call it a budget. I just like goal setting because I think you should set audacious goals, both to grow your revenue, but to also keep expenses down. So, yeah, I think in the first quarter, and look at how the first quarter went based on your goals. Like, it's a lot like basketball, right? If you're in the fourth quarter and you're down by 20, but there hasn't been a quarter where you scored more than 10, like, we need to change something completely. We need to take twice as many shots. Do you know what I mean? Like, people don't
adjust.
Yeah, and people just think if I keep doing things the same way, I'll get the different result. And so I think you have to be cognizant of all of that, the seasonality, the timing, and and I think this is where, like basketball in the fourth quarter, if you didn't have a great first quarter, and I went and watched Eisenhower play, who was it last night? Man, Corey. Corey was up 15-2 at the end of one of the quarters. I think it was the first quarter. Bro, they came back on a 20-0 run in the second. So doesn't matter how your first quarter starts. If you stick to the game plan, the budget, your goals, and you finish it the last three quarters, and maybe you have to kick in a little bit. But to me, it's make sure you focus on your goals on the regular.
Fresh, what do you got?
So for me, I went to a conference this weekend that I help organize and help happen. Right, it was First Sundays, men building up men. Right, so men building up men so that they could build up their families. Right,
that's huge. So
and the title of the conference was From Stress to Success, and we had a very well established gentleman that is he's an amazing man by Dr. Michael Roberts, who's extremely wealthy to say the least, right? He's a billionaire, and fortunate enough to meet him and spend some time with him. And he coined this phrase that's very relevant, and it's simple, but I think it's something that just stuck with me, and I'm just trying to make sure that I do it right. And we talk about this, and it's not going to be really anything new, but the phrase he coined was be an actionaire, like a millionaire or a billionaire, but be an actionaire. And one of the things he said, he said, taking action is my superpower. He takes action. He takes massive action. So in this first quarter, people need to take action. Like, you can't, if you don't take any action, right, and you're just sitting back and you're just watching things happen, you're gonna miss out. So my thing is, I'm actively doing things to be an actionaire, to take on that responsibility and take action. And it's a lot of other things go into it in terms of making sure you do certain things, if you're taking the right action and stuff like that. But you'll make way more progress taking action than not doing anything. So take action.
Well, and that's that Phil Hunt, don't talk about it, be about it. You know what I mean? I think there is so much to be said for that. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, great show, guys. I'm just going to run through this quick. Julius Williams, the Trench Mob, Decatur, Georgia, trains offensive and defensive linemen. They compete in 5v5 tournaments across the country. Julius has sent kids to schools like Florida, Florida State, Miami, Tennessee, Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, to name a few. To work with the best, their website is www.trenchmobfootball.com. Nedvonne Young, the owner of FreshFold Laundry Company, a high-end laundry service. They wash, dry, and fold your clothes for you in 48 hours. You can book online to schedule. You put your clothes out in a clear plastic bag. They pick them up for you. They have an online subscription model, weekly or bi-weekly. You can subscribe and have your laundry done that way. They have deals for college students, all in the Chapel Hill area. You can check out their website at my-freshfold.com. And we have brand new sponsor, PGF, the Pro Grappling Federation.
Wow.
The commissioner is Brandon McGackran. They just came on. They have a season that begins March 4th. It is a very unique league. It is jiu-jitsu and grappling. It's a team atmosphere. There's 4 teams. They just had their draft, which is done by auction. The fighters are put up and they are auctioned off to the teams, and they are 1-round fights, 6 minutes each, and the points are scored via a finish. You have to finish your opponent. If you don't, then you get 0 points. So the season is 6 weeks long. They have a team championship, and they also have an individual championship. The playoffs begin April 8th. You can check out their website at pgfworld.com. James Whitfield, Luther James Insurance. He has financial services. He specializes in insurance policies, especially life insurance. He will make you money and save you a boatload of money with his policies. He will find the right one that fits you. He also is a specialist in retirement planning because he knows the stress that goes into it. How much am I going to need? For how long? Do we have enough? James has been doing this for 4 years. He helps first responders and police officers especially achieve financial stability, security, and retirement planning. You can check out his website, LutherJamesInsurance.com. So for Fresh himself, FreshFold Laundry Company, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Laban Marsh, the king of Erie real estate in Erie, Pennsylvania. Marsh and Marsh.
Just the king of Erie. Just the king of Erie.
Yeah, you are the king of Erie. I'm Steve Cully, the best podcast host in the universe. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them right back at life.